What's up guys, Houndish here, and today I wanted to talk about Destiny 2, talk about an interview between Deej and BGR.com, as well as giving some of my thoughts on the biggest mistakes that have been made going into Destiny 2, or really what is more of a discussion on certain issues that players have with Destiny 2. The interview in particular with Deej is pretty interesting, so Jacob Siegel from BGR.com asked him a lot of questions about the beta build, and asked for kind of justifications for why the beta operated the way that it did, and also some discussion about whether this game is a sequel or a reboot. This wasn't a particularly aggressive interview. The reason I'm saying Deej defends Destiny really is because a lot of these questions kind of tie in with community concerns about the game. So the first question is, what are the differences between the beta build and the final build of Destiny 2? And Deej says, you're developing a game and you're on a path to launch your game, and when you get there, it'll be ready, and then when you say we're going to have a beta, you splinter off and you start preparing the beta build. So what you end up with is a version of the game which is kind of splintered off at a particular time, and then the two builds are growing and evolving in parallel. Constant polish is being applied, we're discovering things about super recharge rates or heavy ammo or matchmaking. A lot of times our players confirm our deepest suspicions and our most nagging theories about what we're creating, and that's one of the ways in which the beta is valuable. For us, the beta was not a trial demo, it was a test. We wanted to see more than anything if our functionality was up to the task of accommodating hundreds of thousands, if not millions of players. So this is a really good point here. I've heard no end of comments saying the beta was boring, I was really disappointed, I hope there's more content in the final game. And I feel like in a lot of ways Bungie should have come out and said more implicitly, this is a test, you know? The problem with that, of course, is that Activision at the same time are trying to use this as a marketing tool for Destiny 2. So you've got this conflict of interests where Bungie are saying we don't want to give away a ton of content because we want to save that up, which they actually talk about in a moment, but at the same time, Activision want it to be a marketing tool for Destiny, and Bungie are actually trying to do technical stuff inside of this beta. Are the servers going to work? How can they prepare for launch day? And I think really because of these reasons, it has caused a lot of anxiety for players. The next question is, why was there so much less content in the Destiny 2 beta than in the original Destiny 1 beta? Deej said Destiny was such an unknown entity back in 2014. The D1 beta was definitely more comprehensive. We had an entire destination open for exploration. People played through entire story missions, starting to get a sense of character progression, and we feel like we have a really good handle on those things now, and we don't feel as if we need to provide as much proof of concept. We're definitely trying to get into the habit of letting the game surprise and delight people who play it. We can give a taste of the action now, but before we saw everything from the Cryptarch to the Iron Banner, and we just didn't feel like we needed to test as many things this time around. One of the community's favourite things about the beta is that in the final version of the game that will ship in September, you still have the capacity to surprise them, and they won't have to speedrun 30% of the steps in order to see something new, because, you know, they've already done that stuff in the beta. For me personally, I absolutely am on board with this. I really appreciate not having a ton of content in the beta. You know, maybe another PvP map, maybe a tiny little patrol segment or something would have been nice as a little example, but that's really about as far as I would personally have ever wanted it to go, and I personally wasn't disappointed with the content that was in that beta. People have different opinions and impressions about this, but again, you do have to remember this was more of a test of technical stuff, servers, the game technology. It wasn't a demonstration saying, hey, this is all of the stuff you can do in Destiny 2, right? It was a taste of what you can do in Destiny 2. But the next question is interesting. So is Destiny 2 really a sequel, or is it more of a reboot? And Deej said, we see this as a sequel, we see this as a reset of the world that people know who have inhabited the game. We see this as a brand new adventure that puts veterans from our community and brand new players on equal footing. They'll be able to embark on this new journey, taking the same steps together. At the same time, it's an evolution of the player experience because we have learned a lot from our audience. Any good entertainer benefits from knowing who will be the ones experiencing their product. We didn't really have that luxury in 2013. We were inventing something new to us, a combination of different types of genres, different types of experiences, but with Destiny 2, we are able to elaborate on a lot of these themes. We're able to evolve just about every aspect of the way people enjoy Destiny. Now, I do think this is a fair answer in a lot of ways. Destiny 2 is about providing more content, but also fixing a lot of the problems with that type of content that we saw in Destiny 1. Of course, there are still issues, there are still things that irritate people, but we have to not be too granular right now. You know, I don't personally feel like I'm annoyed about not having random weapon rolls in the game. I don't feel like that is big picture right now. Of course, later down the road, we'll see how much of an issue that may cause, or how Bungie kind of change and adapt based on how the game is being played. And this is where I wanted to list some of what I consider to be the bigger mistakes that Destiny 2 has made so far, or in the case of some of them, really the biggest problems that Destiny 2 faces. That's a better way to actually phrase some of these points. So one thing that I would list as a mistake, or really more of a problem for Destiny 2, especially in its launch, considering that this is a sequel, is the lack of major gameplay innovation or additions. I said this in another video, but there is nothing really unexpected about Destiny 2, and that has been kind of problematic. You know, a lot of people are saying this isn't a true sequel, this is Destiny 1.5, and I think part of that is because we didn't see anything truly unexpected, like I said. So things like flying spaceships or spaceship battles, those are the kind of additions that quite a lot of people expect to see when you say sequel, you know? Everything that we've seen really is what we expect to be in Destiny, and then improved to some degree. So I think that has made things more difficult and kind of changed the hype around Destiny 2 a little bit. You know, we can't find certain types of alien wildlife out on a planet and then make it our pet and fly it around the skies on that planet or something like that. Those are the kind of things I'm talking about. They're just examples. But there is something to think about here, and that is that Bungie have spent their time focusing on what is really important for Destiny 2. There is a ton of content that needs to be improved. There are a ton of problems in the Crucible, for example. There are a ton of missed opportunities in the explorable worlds, and Bungie have really put their effort into that stuff, as opposed to trying to create new things that are way more ambitious and might, you know, kind of make Destiny fall flat on its ass. So again, this isn't really one of my big issues with the game, but it's something that I see as an issue in general because of the way people talk about the game now. The next thing that I think we should really see in Destiny at this point is dedicated servers, and we're not going to get that for Destiny 2. Bungie described their architecture as being hybrid between dedicated cloud-based servers on Bungie's side, and then, you know, your client servers on the console side or the PC side, whatever it is. But I think for Destiny, particularly with PvP, it is a big shame that we don't have dedicated servers. You know, games like Titanfall, for example, run incredibly well compared to most other games, at least, because they have this dedicated server architecture and they're able to spend so much time on the networking component of the game. In Bungie's defense though, Destiny is a more complicated beast in a lot of ways. They're working on a lot more content for the actual game than perhaps other multiplayer games are, but still in 2017 I think it's really something that's becoming expected, and considering Destiny does have some kind of competitive potential on the PvP side, it's something that going forward should really be a priority in my opinion. There is also the issue of 60 FPS. I wouldn't define this as being a mistake whatsoever. This is more of a limitation. Destiny is a very ambitious game on the console platform in a lot of ways. There are the sheer number of activities, the sheer scale of the explorable worlds, the amount of enemies that they load into these worlds, and as well as this, the game is a very attractive looking game, and I do firmly believe that they couldn't produce that same experience with that kind of scope and deliver 60 frames on this console generation. In the future, yes, I would like to see this, but it depends how long this console generation lasts, you know? I think really before this is something we can expect to see on consoles while seeing the scope that Destiny has, we're going to be looking at another console generation before 60 frames is really something to consider. The only other thing to me personally, which I think is a big mistake with Destiny 2, is the confusing PvP playlisting, the lack of ranked play, and also the way that skill-based matchmaking works. So we don't have ranked play in Destiny 2, but we do have playlists split between competitive and quick play. Now, as soon as you say that, you've got this expectation, right? Nowadays, you've got games like Overwatch. Quick play is just jump into a game, you get randomly matched, there isn't skill-based matchmaking or win-loss preservation or any other kind of bizarre matchmaking going on. It is, you know, you get who you get. If you go into competitive, you have a rating that defines who you should be playing inside of those matches, and on top of that, there's an entire reward and progression system based around it. This is not the case with Destiny 2. Competitive and quick play define the type of game mode that you're going into, and that makes sense to a degree, but as soon as you throw skill-based matchmaking into the mix, you know, for me personally, I saw no difference between playing Control and playing Countdown. Sure, Countdown is kind of a more technical mode, maybe needs a different type of coordination to play well, but in terms of being competitive, I saw no real difference in the experience between those two playlists. Of course, it was just the beta, but skill-based matchmaking was doing the same thing regardless of which playlist I was in, and personally, as a player that does fit into like the top 2% bracket for PvP, I would really enjoy having a place where skill-based matchmaking wasn't having such a huge influence on the game. And that's not because I want to go around pub stomping people or I don't want to be challenged in the Crucible, it's just a little bit tiring when the dynamic never changes, you know. But moving away from the skill-based thing itself, I think there should be a definition and a progression system for the Crucible, and I think that should have been revealed as soon as they were going to reveal these two playlist definitions, right? I'm sure they are working on stuff down the road, they have said that they're working on stuff, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. So those are really my biggest issues with Destiny 2 so far, but on the other hand, we are getting more story, you can't really argue with that, more cinematic content, you know, if you're a player driven by that content, that's huge. We're getting truly explorable worlds for the first time ever, really, by the looks of things, you know, they're filled with adventures, quests, lost sectors, that stuff now starts to make some actual sense. We're seeing refinement across the game in terms of balancing and the systems and the gameplay. Like I said, again, it's about being in a better starting position. I spoke about Destiny 1 out of the gate and how things were just kind of like super powerful and Bungie couldn't really go anywhere from there. You know, you roll stuff back and you're nerfing it and everyone hates you for it. You make it stronger and everyone thinks you're insane. This game seems to have a much better starting position. And in general, we're going to get loads more content. So really, in my opinion, it's about trade-offs more than anything. So I wanted to kind of cover that with you guys, talk about the interview with Deej and kind of their perspective on these particular issues. And I also listed some of my issues with the game. I'm always open to hearing what you guys say about the game. Like most game developers actually say, most times when someone complains about something, they're not incorrect about it. It's a case of what can you do to fix it? What other systems does it influence? So I like the conversation here, guys. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below anyway. If you haven't enjoyed the video or you haven't enjoyed the video, then leave a suitable rating down below. If you are into it though and you want to see more Destiny 2 content on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll keep you up to date with everything going on in the world of Destiny. For now though, I hope you have an awesome day.